I'm back. Yes! Okay, awesome. This is good. So, hi guys. Sorry for the interruptions. Please keep commenting. It's like the way that I know whether or not you guys are actually like watching and you can actually, interact with me because I'm actually live. But basically, when I got cut off, I was just saying that most schools are probably only just starting reading and comparing. So maybe it's just looking at one text out of the two, or maybe you haven't even started yet and it's something that your teachers told you to go home, read your text, and then come back to school and get started. So I know for my students, I haven't started reading and comparing with any of them. So if you are here right now and you are learning about this, either kudos to you because you haven't started but you're keen enough to actually learn, or two, just good on you for being here because I know that term 2 is ending and a lot of us are kind of like, yeah, let's just like chill from now on. Hi Mesh, hi Monique, hi Liv. So if you guys have got any questions for me about reading and comparing, please start to ask the questions for me below. I did send out a blast email to my mailing list, and surprisingly, I only had one question. So again, that kind of tells me that people aren't really quite ready to start reading and comparing yet. Okay, so while I wait for you guys just to kind of start asking questions and for more of you to join in, I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about my month. June has passed by really quickly. It was my birthday on June 10th, so I was really lucky. I was really lucky because I I got tickets for Hong Kong, and so I was really ecstatic to be spending my first birthday overseas. And basically I ate a lot, too much. So I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, there's definitely some working out to be done throughout the next couple of weeks because I am part of my friend's engagement dance party, and it's a surprise, so hopefully nobody is watching this. I think it should be fine. With Lisa's study guides, it's been a really busy month making resources, so I'm super keen. We've got 2 things coming out soon. How to write a killer essay, which is basically for anyone from year 10 to year 12 who just wants to make sure that they're answering the VICA criteria. I basically go through like my thinking process whenever I look at any type of essay prompt. So from, what you're thinking about all the way through to brainstorming, planning, and the actual execution itself. So a lot of people seem to think that, it's all about the writing, but they don't realize that the first major part is actually just how you think about the prompt, what you're thinking about, and what you choose to write about. So there's that, and then we've got a practice exam coming out as well. So it's our first LSG practice exam where we've created our own topics for you guys, and we've got our own article just so that, you guys have more resources to study for your exams. Okay, so let's get down to business. Okay, so the first question is the one that I'm going to talk about from my mailing list. If you're not signed up to that, then description below, yada yada yada, you know the drill. So this is by Sharun, and they ask, what's the best way to structure comparative essay? So basically there are 3 ways to structure a comparative essay, and I'll just go into them in a little bit of detail and give you an idea on which one I think is best. So the first one is one that most people are familiar with, and that's the block method. The reason why it's called the block method is because you're literally talking about your text in chunks. So for example, the first part of your essay will be about text 1, the second chunk will be text 2, and then the third block or chunk is where you do comparisons. So with this one, I'm not the biggest fan of it because I think while a lot of people start off with that particular structure, that's already like the clue. It's a starting off structure. It's to get you familiar with what you're supposed to do and why you're kind of doing this comparing between the two texts and how to compare between these two texts. But I think it's quite restrictive. I don't think that it enables you the flexibility and timing to talk a lot about comparisons, especially since it's at the end of the essay, and often a lot of people run out of time. And if that's, if you're running out of time and the last part is the part that you're sacrificing, that's a comparison that you've suddenly not fulfilled as part of the criteria. The second one is what I call the bridge method. So a bridge is where you start off the first section of your essay talking about text 1, then you form a bridge leading into text 2. And that bridge is basically in the middle where you do your paragraphs. So think about it this way: paragraph 1, text 1, paragraph 2, a bridge where you do comparison, and then paragraph 3 is text 2. I like that one because I think it definitely offers a more seamless flow throughout your essay, and rather than waiting to compare at the very last moment, you're actually comparing earlier on. So that risk about timing and not finishing on time, that's kind of mitigated. The third and the best one I would recommend is integrated. Integrated is basically where you compare both of the texts throughout your entire essay. So the reason why I personally say that this is the best one is because Vika has actually specifically noted that they prefer these ones. If you look in the past examiners report, all of their examples of their high achieving ones are the integrated examples. So I'd recommend you go have a look on the Vika website and discover what an integrated essay is like and start pursuing that. You don't have to start adopting it straight away. You could try out any of the 3 structures and see which one best suits you. But eventually you want to be advanced enough in your ideas and your ability to write down those ideas that you're doing the integrated method. So Sharoon, if you're watching this, I'm also going to write this down in my next Q&A newsletter. So I'm going to actually draw up a table for you and you can visually see it. So keep an eye out, and I hope that's helpful for you guys. Hi, Jasons. Okay. So Allah says, how do you best compare major themes? As in like structure. Ooh, I'm not too sure what your question is asking. If you could be a little bit more articulate or like maybe say it in a different way, I think that might be helpful. I think let me take a stab and guess what you're saying though. I think what you're asking is, how do you compare the themes inside your structure? So for example, if you're doing the integrated method, basically because you're comparing in each of the body paragraphs, it's a great way to focus each of those body paragraphs according to ideas. So if you are doing, let's say, what's a good one? 1984 and Stasi Land. That's always my go-to one. If you're doing those two as your comparisons, maybe in the first body paragraph you could be talking about surveillance of people and how that destroys humanity, and that's like your bigger idea. Your second example could be something along the lines of how humans can face conflict and are able to be incredibly resilient, and that could be the idea for your second body paragraph. I know that I don't have like a sample topic, essay topic for you, but that's it, okay? Oh, cool, Ala. She says, that was exactly what I meant. You answered that in your first question. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. And hopefully, what I just said then also helps you understand even more about how to do that integrated structure. Okay. So Susanna says, I'm struggling to write comparative essays. What's a strategy to improve? Look, I think that to begin with, even just practicing is a great way to improve. Practice makes perfect, and nothing is truer than in English for that. Try to adopt different ways to study for reading and comparing. So, I feel like most people will just kind of write down a list of things that are similar or are different. But maybe what you could do are mind maps, or what you could do is have a debate with your friend and argue about, something that you think is similar, but on their side of things, they think it's completely different. I think if you try to experiment with different ways of studying, then that's a good way to improve. So I know that's more of a broad kind of answer to your question, but I feel like your question is more to do with studying than it is how to improve your comparative writing. Awesome. I'm just reading the rest of your comments. Okay. So, as always, I'm just going to try and focus on reading and comparing because that's what this particular live stream is about. Okay. Something else that I just wanted to let you guys know is that an analysis doesn't just mean that you're comparing two books and literally just looking at what's similar and what's different. So anybody who says something like in the Penelopead and Bombshells both have women or both focus on women, like that's really superficial. So it's not really about that, and it's more about your exploration of the two texts. So what you try to do is find connections between the texts, then go in depth about those connections with a focus of what you believe to be important. Like when we study reading comparing, a lot of it is to do with our analysis of humans. And so you're going to resonate with particular aspects of those texts than somebody over there. So it takes practice to get really good at analyzing these books, but if you keep that in mind, then you're going to get there in no time. And I guess like what I just said there is kind of an extension to help the question that was asked earlier by Susanna. Okay? Cool. Okay, so this live stream is not going to be too long, but I am still here for a few more minutes, so keep asking your questions. Vinay asked tips for film comparative. Okay, so on the FICA syllabus, I'm pretty sure there are no comparisons between two films. So my answer is going to be more so if you have a film and a book. Okay, so with films, you treat them pretty much the same. Think about the themes, connect those ideas to your second text, and find the deeper meanings behind those themes. So with a film though, what does make it slightly different is the type of evidence that you use. So rather than talking about a metaphor that's used or imagery that's used in a book and how that adds meaning to your understanding of the story, in a film, you're using film techniques. So I do have a couple of videos on film techniques if you wanted to go ahead and have a watch. But you'd be talking about how the camera angle demonstrates how this leader is superior because it's looking up at that person. Or you might say something like, the music that's introduced in this scene is to enhance its melancholy. So more so, it comes back down to the actual evidence itself. Something else that you could maybe focus on is why the author chose to write film or a text, but don't know if that information is readily available. So that's just kind of like a side note. Okay. Matthew asks, can you please explain big ideas? Yeah, awesome question. I thought that someone might ask. So when I say big ideas, I spoke about this probably in another video, but just to reinforce, with reading comparing, it's different to text response because you're actually looking at two texts and what they're saying about humanity. Okay, that's the way that I think of it. When I look at text response, I feel like you delve in really deep into one text and you find like the nitty gritty things. But with a reading comparing, like you don't necessarily have the space to do that. So it's more so about the ideas. Think about the connections between humans, how humans respond in particular situations. Why do they respond in a particular way? And what does this say about us as people? So if I compare a few of the texts, there's The Crucible and Year of Wonders. That has a lot to do with human resilience, fear as a tool to manipulate people. It also speaks a lot about people's beliefs and sticking to your guns and believing in your faith rather than kind of following on with everyone else's, and see how these kind of ideas are more about us as people. And so the reason why I think of it like that is because it makes it so much easier for you and me to actually study the text. Another example is for, let's say, what's a good one? Ransom and Invictus, right? So with Ransom and Invictus, you've got two leaders, but these two leaders have to sacrifice a lot in order to do what they do. They are not able to spend as much time with their family, and their relationships with their family, as a result of them being leaders, can be tense. And so that's more looking at the human perspective of things. You could even look at how, for some people, forgiveness is something that is viewed positively upon compared to revenge. And that's focusing more on Ransom, but there's definitely elements of Invictus in there. So yeah, Monique says, The Crucible is such a fantastic play, hands down one of my favorites. I completely agree. I am going to quickly charge my phone because it's going to die and then my 4G is going to go out. Okay. So, Monique asks, are there any things students should definitely avoid when doing the comparison? I guess for me, that's a really good question. Oh, wow. I don't know if there's anything in particular that you would specifically avoid. There are things that, you should avoid doing. So maybe what I was saying before about don't just do like a superficial, like, oh, in these two books, they both focus on women. Like, that's really general. Or both Ransom and Invictus have leaders. Like, yeah, we get that. You read the text, I read the text, we know that, So always try to offer information that you can't just get just by reading the text. Yeah, look, I'm going to have to think about that one. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. let me get back to you about that one, okay? What I'm gonna do is answer your question again in my next live stream, because I'm gonna do 2 live streams on reading comparing. Okay, so forgive me. I will get back to you. Okay, guys. So, okay, Mesh says, when I'm taking notes, would a table comparing the themes be suitable? Absolutely. I've said this before, but with themes, even though they share the same themes, they probably go into those themes in different ways, or they say different things about that certain theme. Okay, so yeah, I do think that tables are a really good idea, especially as a starting point. Hi, Clary. You guys make me so happy. Okay. So Ashley says, I'm also doing Black Diggers with longest memory. Any advice for those 2 texts? If I am not wrong, I have a video coming up for that, and we have a blog post coming out for that really soon. So just make sure that you stay in touch with us, or me, at Lisa Study Guys, whether it's like on this channel or in my mailing list, and you'll keep up with that, okay? All right, guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys have amazing holidays. And if you're interested in tutoring, then you might have seen my previous video where I'm like tutoring students from anywhere online throughout the holidays. So if you wanted to make the most out of that, then feel free to just go watch that one. You can see the link to book me in. But other than that, guys, I hope you have an awesome one. Love you all.